So why should you give this game a chance? Don't. This game is trash for sweaty losers with no life. I'm uninstalling. Wait! This game is amazing. I will rate awesome out of 10 on Steam. Take all of my money. This game was a huge surprise for me because, well, I never heard anything about it from online or my friends or anything, despite how fun it is. It was only when I bought it was when my friends told me how good it is. I normally don't give games like this a chance because I can usually feel safe buying a game recommended to me. However, I gave it a chance because I saw roguelike, bullet hell, and bunny girls, and I love all those things. Plus it was less than $15, so that wasn't all my life savings. I still have $5 for gacha pulls and food. I stayed playing because the game scratches that itch of extremely difficult but doable. Touhou and Souls players will understand what I'm talking about. This game's difficulty comes from two things: bullets and mechanics. Bullets are obvious. Don't let your center get hit by the ball and you'll live. The bullets themselves aren't hard to deal with, but the mechanics with these projectiles is what makes the game so difficult. Every section of the map has their own setup mechanics that you can expect. For example, the church mouse area has a lot of times where there's multiple enemies to fight, and each enemy has their own separate mechanic, like slowing you or shrinking the area you can move in. Another is the Emerald Lake side, where you have to match the color assigned to you, or you have to stand still or move when the bar fills. Also, you have a constant debuff here called jamming to the Emerald Lakeside song. Shout out to who did the voice, but also I hate you because I died several times jamming out to it. You can also choose which one you want to start with, depending on what you prefer fighting. It will always be Emerald Lakeside for me, because the song is crack for me. It would not leave my brain. It's been stuck for 5 days straight now, please. Not only that, but a cool thing about this game is that the enemy attack patterns change depending on the difficulty and how many players are playing. There's even local co-op, so you and a friend can play couch co-op. It's awesome. It's something that's seldom seen in many games currently. If you need something as a reference, difficulties in Terraria. Going from normal to expert makes bosses act differently. Like the Eye of Cthulhu in normal, it just slowly dashes at you. But in expert, it gets a third phase where it dashes across the street rapidly and will probably kill you if you don't have a hook. Similarly, the section where you just had to get in the correct circle might have a different pattern. Multiple colors to worry about they had to get in, or more projectiles. Or in multiplayer, you might have to spread out from your teammate, or group up with them depending on the attack. Or the attack enemies do might be entirely different from what they normally do in solo. It's certainly one of those games where you'll probably go, I don't care that you did the most damage, get the hell away from me when it says spread out, and I will give you a bunny girl in real life whenever science allows it. It's fun to discover the game as you go up in difficulty of players. I haven't even tried Lunar yet because I still get my ass kicked in hard mode. I'd imagine it's insanely hard, and I will be making an itemless Lunar mode on my channel, similar to the All Zones Aria run, where I will die of a heart attack before I beat it because of stress. The crazy part, this is only the enemy portion of the game. You can take on these challenges in so many ways, and there's a ton of items and rabbits to unlock for your runs by doing achievements. My two favorites are Heavy Blade and Spell Sword, despite being basically polar opposites of each other. Spell Sword, you need to manage a buff, only given by your secondary, and this buff powers up all of your abilities. Each time you use an ability, a stack of this buff goes down, including your secondary. So it's a never-ending cycle of, if no buff, buff. Otherwise, use every other ability until no buff, and you just repeat this cycle. You do more damage than other classes at base, at the trade-off of multitasking and buff management.
Meanwhile,
Heavy Blade use big sword, don't get hit, do big damage, build bigger damage. Items and upgrades can also change the playstyle of your character entirely. The upgrades can only be bought at the beginning of the level at the shop. Some of these are just straight upgrades like more charges or doing more damage. Usually this is reserved for Opal and Sapphire upgrades. Or unique changes like removing my invincibility field from my defensive, but it makes my first and third skill do double damage, so bigger damage, which is exactly what I want as a Heavy Blade. This is usually reserved for Emerald and Ruby upgrades. There's also Garnet, which usually makes that ability charge other ones at the cost of reducing the damage of that one. Depending on what you have, this is either detrimental or useful. Very situational, but it has its purpose. There's also a ton of items, from debuffs, cooldown reduction or resets, more damage, luck, tons more. Some are entirely unique, like one that makes your primary strength, your special's cooldown, multiplied by 30, minus your secondary strength, divided by the times your primary hits your target. Damn, that's cool and all, but 175% crit damage, that's a language I understand. More damage. Some also give buffs to everyone in the multiplayer run. all of these can entirely change how you play the same character. You can either play support, big damage dealer, I cannot get hit, but I also cannot move, and many more. I personally build around one of my skills as much as possible to make it as broken as possible, at the cost of not really doing anything with my other skills. And that's my personal preference. There's way more that's possible. That's just what I do. With all that, there aren't really any complaints I have aside from my personal preference. For example, I prefer my roguelites to have the feeling of I have no idea what the hell is going on my screen, but everything's dying and my frames are dropping. That's the type of roguelike I like. I mean, this game's pretty cool too. The bunny girls make up for it. Otherwise, there's just so much replayability with this game, with all the characters, items, bosses, different gameplay mechanics. I'd absolutely recommend it to anyone who wants to play solo, and for people who has friends who are willing to spend $15 on a game, and likes challenging games at that. There's a lot of value in both experiences. With that, thank you for watching, and here comes the outro jump scare. Bye bye.